Be strong and get healthy. Stretch. Feel great about yourself and have some fun. It's time for you. Fitness is the key to your future. Don't get locked out. Take the challenge. Commit to be fit. Thanks for joining me today on Commit to be Fit. I'm Susie Smith. What is posture and why is it so important? My guest today, Pat Sanders, RN, is back for another exciting adventure of Anatomy and Nat with Susie and Pat. And today we're talking about the spine. Welcome to the show, Pat.
Thank you, Susie. Thank you for having me back. No pun intended.
We've got your back. We do today, and this is going to be a great show. Is there anyone out there watching that has had back problems or backaches? If so, I think would be most people. You're going to want to pay attention here today. We have a lot of information. So let's just kind of start with talking about the spine, and this is actually, is it a fairly accurate size in a normal size person?
This is pretty much life size. Even larger persons have slightly larger bones, but this is pretty much a life size representation of the human spine.
See, that's amazing. You don't really think about it looking like that, but it's so intricate. So I notice it starts out with smaller bones at the top and...
Right. You see the section of the skull up here. And then we have a few called cervical vertebrae. These are the ones in your neck. And then the thoracic vertebrae are the ones in your back that your ribs attach to. And then the lumbar vertebrae, where most people have their back pain. And then the sacrum and coccyx in the back.
Okay. So how many vertebrae are in each section? Do we have like a certain amount in the cervical spine?
Yes, we do. And I think you have an illustration of that.
I think we do have an illustration here somewhere. Okay, so we have the cervical spine, which attaches to your skull. And how many vertebrae are?
There are 7 cervical vertebrae, so it goes roughly to about here. This is where your shoulders are.
Okay, so what is the main job of the first 7, the cervical spine? Do they have a main function?
Well, the top one attaches to the skull and keeps your head on straight, which many people would need.
I need that.
And the next one enables you to rotate your head back and forth, left and right. And then the rest of them serve as the conduit for your spinal nerve as it comes from your brain down to the rest of your body.
And then after the first 7, then we have the thoracic. And how many?
Right. We have 12 thoracic vertebrae, which go down to roughly here. They serve as attachment points for the ribs and many of the muscles. They also serve as protection for the spinal cord that goes through the middle here, and also protection for the organs on the inside, like the lungs and the heart. A lot of people think that your heart is to the left side of your body, but actually your heart is pretty much directly in the middle of your body, slightly to the left.
Oh, so it's not all the way on the left like we think?
No.
Oh, okay.
So actually the heart would be roughly here, about the size of a fist.
And then, so we have the 7 cervical, and that holds our head up and we turn our heads with. And you can see how intricate this is. That's what is amazing about it. How many vertebrae, how many bones and nerves have to be in alignment. So after the thoracic, we have the lumbar, and how many are involved in that?
Then we have the lumbar vertebrae, and they are also slightly movable. And then they're attached to the sacrum here, which is a large, almost shaped like home plate, if you want to think of it that way, and then the coccyx at the very bottom, which is connected by a little bit of cartilage and can move slightly.
So this is the posterior, the back view.
Right. This is the back. If you feel down your back, you can feel the little bumps up and down your back. That's the spinous processes where the ends of the bones are. And then on the sides, protects the nerves coming out. These are the spinal nerves coming out on either side. These come out of your spinal nerve, and they carry impulses to the rest of your body, which is why if you have a problem with your spine and it pinches off a nerve, you can get pain in various areas of your body, depending on which spinal nerve is being pressured.
Well, I could see that, how just if you had an injury, and I'm sure just about everybody watching today has had some back problem. And why is that? We're not really meant to.
We're not meant to walk upright.
Okay.
That's an evolutionary adaptation that allows us to carry things with our hands and see in distances. And we still have that adaptation today. But our bodies were actually not designed to be upright. So we're actually defying nature by walking around on two legs.
So that's giving us a lot of problems. I see this guy has a problem down here. It looks like something going on.
If we turn this around, this is the front of the spinal column. And you see in between here there are little gelatinous discs, the spinal discs. If any of you had a slipped disc or a herniated disc, that's what they're referring to. This is like filled with jelly in a sac, and if this sac breaks, the jelly can ooze out.
Oh, it can ooze out?
And cause pressure on the nerves. And that's sort of what's happened right here, where you see this little bulge here that's put pressure on the nerve down below it.
So that's what, and when people say they have pain down their glutes and into their leg, could it be a pinched nerve?
Absolutely.
From the disc?
A lot of things, pinched nerves can cause a lot of pain, pressure. You can get pain down the leg, all the way down to the foot. Another problem that we have with our backs a lot of times are muscle spasms, where we get pressure on the nerves and the muscles. Their function is to both let us move, and the other function of the muscles is to protect us. So when we have an injury, those muscles will spasm or lock up to protect you from moving in a way that would hurt you worse. And that's where a lot of people get their back pain.
So I've been a weightlifter for a long time, and I, purposely work my back muscles because I know that a lot of things we do during the day are out of posture, out of good posture, and we lean forward and we're on a computer, we're picking up kids, we're doing everything forward. So we're working our chest muscles a lot. And we need to open up. And we need to open up and build these muscles along the spine so that we can keep everything in alignment.
Right. And if you notice from the side view here, this person has a curvature that way. And then up at the top there should be another curvature, and it's an S-curve. And that helps with posture and holding us upright. And that's the natural curvature. And many of us, by sitting forward or leaning forward, playing with our cell phones or playing video games or working on a computer, we defeat that curve. And it can cause us neck pain, shoulder pain, muscle spasms in the shoulders. So many people have knots in their shoulder areas, and that's part of the cause of that.
Now, this doesn't look like it has a perfect curve to it, does it? It looks a little damaged, maybe. I notice up in here it's a little thick.
Yeah. This neck is a little bit straighter than normally. I think your illustration has a good illustration of the S-curve in the spine,
the S-curve,
way it's supposed to be. Yeah,
it looks a little more pronounced than this one, but I think this one purposely has a couple issues to show. So what are some of the abnormalities of the spine? Like, people maybe like an accentuated curve or...
Well, you can have things like that, scoliosis or curvature of the spine that puts pressure on the nerves and causes muscle and pain, muscle and nerve pain.
So scoliosis, that's when it kind of twists sideways?
It can either twist or it can bend to one side or the other in an abnormal way.
So when it does that, it'll flatten out on one side and actually pinch off a nerve?
It can.
And that's where you can get pain? And,
Now, our bodies are really good at adapting to problems. Things like posture that's not exactly correct, our bodies can help us a lot. But a lot of times if we do that too often, we can cause ourselves more problems.
So what if, sometimes I see people with like a really deep curve. They're almost arched.
Like a sway back?
Like a sway back, yeah. And what causes that? Just, is it improper posture, or could you be born that way?
You can. A lot of people have foot or knee problems or hip problems that forces their backs into unnatural positions that they wouldn't normally be in, and that can cause back pain. Back pain is one of the main causes of doctor visits in this country. Many of us have back pain from various things: our occupation, our hobbies, what we do at home, how we stand or walk or sit. The fact that we sit so often is a big cause of our back problems too. Many of us sit for many hours a day. Most of our doctors recommend that if you sit for long periods of time at work, that you get up once an hour and walk around a little bit, just to work the muscles a little bit, get the blood flowing, keep you from having spasms that cause pain.
Well, that makes sense, because a lot of times when I read, and I start reading in the winter, and I hole up in a corner of my couch and I'm twisted up like a pretzel, and then I get really sore. So I have to get up and stretch and realign myself. And I find a nice way to realign myself is just kind of standing against the wall. And I'll put my heels against the wall and my butt and my shoulders and my head, and stand there for about 30 seconds, and then try to walk away from the wall and maintain that, and try to learn that feeling of good posture. And you're not always going to be in good posture, because that's not what life's about. It's just being able to come back to good posture as much as possible. And so what are some of the benefits of having good posture? How does good posture affect the spine?
Well, again, a lot of your muscles attach along the spine. The paraspinal muscles attach on either side of the spine. The shoulder muscles attach. The hip muscles attach. So having good posture keeps those muscles in alignment and gives you good balance in the muscle structure and function.
So the spine is basically the backbone of our body, but it's actually, it's the main, it's like the information highway, because it has that cord through it.
Mm-hmm.
And so how does the brain, like here's a head up here, this is the base of the skull, how does the brain send messages down here into the rest of our body? Like it's sending messages to our legs, hooked onto our pelvis. And how does it do that? It just...
Well, the spinal cord is actually a bundle of nerves and nerve
it's
cells.
here.
It's inside. There's a column, a hollow in the middle of each vertebra or spinal bone. And that's where the spinal cord resides and goes through. And we need a good tunnel for that spinal cord to get messages from the brain to the rest of the body.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. A tunnel.
So the message originates in the brain, comes down through the spinal cord, and then depending on which part of the body it's going to, might be the neck, might be the arms, might be the trunk or the abdomen or the legs. The spinal nerves come out from that and deliver that message. They also carry messages back up from your extremities back up to your brain. And we talked about that when we were talking about this show. If you put your hand on a hot stove, somehow that message has to get from your hand to your brain to say, oh, my hand's on a hot stove. Mm-hmm. And then your brain has to have a way to get the message down to your hand that says, get your hand off the hot stove, stupid.
And sometimes it takes longer to get up there, depending on...
There's a delay.
Mm-hmm. There's a delay.
And if you watch things in slow motion, you will see the delay between the time you put your hand on the stove to where your face says, ow, and you move your hand. It seems pretty instantaneous if you're not watching slow motion, but it can be kind of amusing if you have it in slow motion.
Well, this, to me, is just phenomenal, to actually look at this and know that that's pretty much the size that's in our bodies right now. And this is just so involved with all of this. And I can see where posture and building muscles along the spine would be so beneficial.
Right. And the other nice thing about having a really nice life-size demonstration model is that with our model of the spine here, you can see how everything has to work pretty much perfectly in order for messages to get sent, us to be able to move and bend and function properly, to be in proper posture, for messages to get from the extremities back up to the brain, and again from the brain back to the body.
Wow. Wow.
It really is an intricate structure, and it's just amazing the way we're put together and how things actually work with each other to make us able to do what we can do. It's an unbelievable structure.
And I know you've always said it's kind of mind-boggling just to think of all the things that has to happen in your body for you just to get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just to get up. Your brain has to send all of these signals, and if everything's in alignment, then it kind of, the signals will just flow out to the parts. But if you're seated in a position to where you're off to the side, or you're hunched forward, you're kind of going against those messages. You're slowing them down, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly how that works, but I can see where if it's pinched off that you're not going to get the right signal.
Right. And that's our body's way of telling us, you're defeating my purpose. You're not letting me do what I need to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what pain is. It's your body's way of saying something's not right. We need to fix something here. Muscle pain, nerve pain, it's all a symptom of having poor posture or poor function or an injury.
And when you're out of alignment and something's twisted, or I think it takes your body a lot more energy to try to do what you're doing. So
Sure.
Doesn't that make you more fatigued?
Absolutely.
So having a good muscle structure and good posture would cut down on fatigue and probably give you a lot more energy,
Sure.
because the blood flow can, everything can, go where it's supposed to go.
And I think we've all known or experienced, if you're having pain anywhere, it's harder to sleep and rest and to function properly during the day. So helping your body do what it's supposed to do is good all around.
Definitely for pain prevention, I can see that. And if you had something going on down here, like you said, everything's connected, and something pinched, maybe you'd feel that in your leg.
Absolutely. You could feel it in your leg, or you could not feel it in your leg. A lot of times nerve pressure causes numbness.
Oh, okay. So we want to keep everything balanced. Like you were mentioning about if you have a problem with your foot, would that transfer up to the spine?
Right, because if you're having a problem with your foot, plantar fasciitis, gout in your toes, arthritis in your feet, it can make you walk or stand differently than you normally should. And that will change the way your messages get from your feet and legs back up to your hips and your brain.
So if you have one vertebra rubbing against another abnormally, would that eventually cause arthritis? Or could it?
One bone, vertebra, rubbing against the other vertebra is actually arthritis. When these discs have deteriorated to where they're no longer cushioning the spine, and that's what these discs do. They're cushions so that the bones don't rub against each other. Many of our viewers have arthritis, and you know that grinding feeling where bone on bone. If these discs deteriorate or break down, you can have that happen in your spine, where one bone will rub against the other bone, and that causes pain just by itself. It can also cause nerve pinching, and it can cause muscle spasms as well.
So I talk to lots of people that have degenerative disc disease. And is that what that is? The vertebra rubbing against another vertebra?
Right. It's just a way of saying that something has broken down. Usually the discs break down or the bones start to deteriorate and they rub against each other. And that's what degenerative disc disease is. It's a form of arthritis.
So there are things we can do to help. I mean, if you're born with, some people are born with scoliosis. But there are exercises that we can do to help strengthen and, help support this system in our body, because this, to me, looks like it would be the most important, one of the most important parts of your body. I mean, it's the information, you say, coming from your brain. The stem of the cord goes right up into the brain, right?
Absolutely.
That's just amazing, Pat.
It is.
It's just, it stuns me. And I know there are a lot of people watching today that probably never really took a good look at this. And, I think about all the years I've lifted and worked my back. And I know a lot of people don't, think about working the back because you don't see it. And a lot of times we just work things like biceps or things that you can see, showy muscles. But really it's important to stretch and elongate the spine too to make some space between there. Mm-hmm. Now when you make space between, do we have any fluids that are going in there and helping out?
Well, inside the spinal cord there is a little bit of spinal fluid that does come down and lubricate the cord and go back up, but it's a tiny amount. Mostly we rely on the gel in the discs.
Okay.
It is the foundation, though. Everything, your arms come off there, your legs come off there. It's the foundation for everything that we do and how we move. And as I told you when we were preparing for this, there's a reason that the muscles in your abdomen are called the core muscles, because this really is the core of your body. And it's a very important structure. And you can see, it looks a little delicate. It's pretty sturdy. And it's amazing how much our spines can take. We abuse our spines every day by the way we walk and move, lift, sit, and the amount of time we spend doing those activities. So it's amazing how much our spines can take that we do to them. But if you've ever had a thing where you just move a little bit and you get pain, you also see how delicate it can be.
Because it can happen. You can be feeling really good and then bend over and something locks up, and I've had that happen to me before.
Many of us have.
Yeah.
You just bend over the wrong way, lift something, and you get that pain, and then you can't move for days.
But to me, this is just amazing how the ribs come out and protect your heart and sending all the messages, and what a great design. I mean, really, this is just phenomenal.
It is. It's amazing. It's an amazing structure, and it's amazing how it functions, and it's amazing how little we respect it and how much we can do to defeat it, but it hangs in there and,
It does the job. Well, you were mentioning core muscles and how that's important.
Oh, you like that segue, do you?
I did like that.
Good.
Yeah, the core muscles and the back muscles. If we work those, and if we work the erector spinae, is that pronounced right?
It is.
Spinae, down the sides of, all the way down. I used to think in the beginning they were just down here, but they run all the way down. And you've got your back muscles and your core muscles. So let's show a few exercises that people can do. First of all, I think you could just practice sitting in a chair without crossing your ankles or your legs, because when you do cross your leg, then you've got that.
Twist your spine, you cut off the circulation to your lower legs.
So you notice when you start to get up that, your legs are a little bit numb. But we want to sit nice and tall in our chairs, and we're going to show you a few exercises for core and back, and just try to open up the chest and work those muscles to hold the spine in place.
Okay.
Okay? Sounds good. Thank you, Pat. That's a lot of information.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. Well, let's do some exercises.
All right.
All right. All right. I just want to show you a few basic ideas, some exercises that you can do. First one is, like we talked about, just stand against the wall. Put your heels against the wall. Put your butt against the wall. Put your shoulders against the wall and your head. And don't pull your chin all the way, don't have it pointing down, just level. And take your shoulders back. And a good way to start is just to do this for about 30 seconds. And then step away from the wall and feel how that feels in space. A lot of people stand, kind of slumped over. You don't want to do that. So just every day, line yourself up. Find out what good posture is. Step away from the wall. So like we talked about earlier, a lot of things that we do involve bending forward and folding forward. So you want to you can have a band, wrap it around something. I didn't bring any equipment today. I just want to show you the movement. So hold your stomach in, stand tall, and just bring your arms back, and you're going to be squeezing your shoulder blades together. And then inhale. Squeeze the shoulder blades together, and that's going to strengthen those muscles in the mid-back. So you want to do a few of these every day. Another quick way is just to do shrugs, and that's a nice way to get rid of a lot of tension. A lot of us hold our shoulders up toward our ears. We're stressed out. Take those shoulders away. Make space between your ear and your shoulder, and just feel that stretch. Bring the shoulders up, and then just drop them down. Shoulder shrugs are really important, I think, to get rid of tension, and it does help your posture. Just leaning side to side, that's going to work muscles along the waistline. So reaching down your side, reaching down the other side. Those are good moves too. If you like to do bent over rows, you can get a flat back and either put some weights on, hold some weights, or use a band and just come up this way. You can do that. And squeezing the shoulder blades, keeping the spine straight, knees are slightly bent. Another nice thing to do is twisting side to side. Our bodies move, our spine moves in different directions, so we want to utilize that and practice in between, so that put one foot forward, put your left foot forward, and then turn to the left as you exhale. Always turn to the side that the foot is in front. If your left foot's in front, turn to that side and then bring it back to center. Put your right foot in front, inhale, and as you exhale, you'll just twist to the side and look behind you. Your spine really needs this. It needs to move in the directions that it's supposed to, that it was designed to. And if you never do the exercises to strengthen your spine, then when it's time to twist and lift something, that's when you have problems. So just a few little exercises of opening up the chest, squeezing the back muscles, and you're going to be good. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me. It was fun to do.
And that's a lot of information, and I really hope that you enjoyed our show today, because I know we've all had back issues. And I'd like to thank Bergman Chiropractic Clinic on Washington Road in McMurray. It's right across from Kmart. Dr. Bergman loaned us this today, and I really appreciate that. Thank you, Dr. Bergman. And I guess we just want to wish everyone happy holidays, and go out and do something nice for someone, like maybe sing some carols. I know Pat likes to sing a lot. She sings in the choir. So have a great holiday season, Merry Christmas, and try to do something nice for someone. And remember, take the challenge and commit to be fit.